Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Tristan Rallings, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Wing Commander Owen Gardner. We warmly welcome the family of Lance Corporal Roy Bathurst Mason, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand for the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lance Corporal Roy Bathurst Mason. Roy Mason was born on the 9th of February 1895 to Thomas and Jane Mason of New South Wales. His father had come to Australia as an infant and spent his life living in White Rock, O'Connell and Wimbledon. A few years before Roy was born, the family were living in a tent at White Rock, but their fortunes improved and they would eventually move to the property Butterley near Wimbledon. Roy was educated at the Bloom Hill State School. He would go on to work as a farmer in the district, occasionally taking on contracts to remove rabbits from nearby properties. Roy Mason enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in October of 1915. His older brother Sid had enlisted several months earlier and was already on his way to the front with reinforcements to the Light Horse. Roy underwent a period of training in Australia before leaving for active service in June of 1916 with reinforcements to the 17th Battalion. His voyage overseas was not without incident, as he disobeyed a direct order while in Cape Town, South Africa, and was awarded 3 days field punishment on board the troop ship. Private Roy Mason was first sent to England. After arriving, he sent a cable home to his parents to say that he had arrived safely and was in good health. His brother Sid, also in England at the same time, although it is unclear whether the brothers were able to meet. Roy continued training on Salisbury Plain until October 1916, a year after he enlisted, when he was sent to France to fight on the battlefields of the Western Front with the 13th Battalion, which had been badly depleted during the fighting at Mouquet earlier in the year. Mason arrived in France at the beginning of what would become the coldest winter recorded in northern France in decades. His battalion spent much of the winter rotating in and out of the front line, conducting small-scale raids against German defences and maintaining a defensive front. In late February 1917, the Australians discovered that the enemy positions opposite them were empty, and over the following days advanced to find the Germans had withdrawn to a strongly defended position that would become known as the Hindenburg Line. Roy had proven himself an able soldier over the winter and was promoted to Lance Corporal as the 13th Battalion took part in the follow-up to the Hindenburg Line. On the 11th of April 1917, Australian battalions took part in an attack on the Hindenburg Line near the French village of Bouillicourt. At 4:45 a.m, 2 companies of the 13th Battalion moved out, followed later by the remaining 2. As soon as they left the shelter of the railway cutting, the companies came under German shell fire. The 16th Battalion, in front of the 13th, found swathes of uncut barbed wire in their way, and the 13th Battalion came to their assistance before the battalions moved forward to take the first and second objectives. Although the men made valiant attempts to maintain their new positions, heavy German bombing attacks soon forced them out. The first attack on the Hindenburg Line was a failure. During vicious fighting, Lance Corporal Roy Bathurst Mason was killed. Little is known of the manner of his death, and rumours were heard that he had been taken prisoner of war. However, it was soon determined that these were incorrect, and a court of inquiry determined that he had been killed in action during the First Battle of Bouillicourt. Private Roy Mason's body was never recovered, and today he is commemorated on the Australian National Memorial at Villers-Bretonneux. He was 22 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lance Corporal Roy Bathurst Mason, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.